What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Stick Theory podcast. Today, we're going to be joined with SoFlo Dyes, a stringer and dyer from South Florida. So, can't wait for y'all to enjoy this episode today. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and enjoy that episode today. Thanks. Let's go ahead and get started here. SoFlo, thanks for coming on Stick Theory. I guess kind of let's start at the beginning. Easiest one, kind of break the ice a little bit. How did you come up with the name SoFlo?
Pretty simplistic. I was born and raised in South Florida, so that was kind of always the vibe down there. It was SoFlo. Kind of looked around on Instagram at the time to see if like SoFlo Dyes was taken by any like fabric companies or anything down there. So when people researched it, it would come up with me instead of something else. And originally I had to do the underscore in the middle of it, but now I just have SoFlo Dyes,
That's
which is
awesome.
nice. Yeah.
That is. So have you gotten any traction off of those Google searches a little bit, you think, or
Uh, I mean, some points, yeah. I think I've kind of slowed down on my posting. I haven't been as prevalent as I used to be, and that's kind of been my issue. I have stuff strong. I just always forget to post, and
yeah.
I'm starting to get better about doing that myself. So yeah.
That's awesome. So kind of going into that, like how did you get into lacrosse and what pulled you toward the stringing side and the dyeing side of the sport?
So I got into lacrosse in like fifth grade. So I'm about like 20 years into it at this point. And back in the day, we had hard mesh, so kind of had to be able to break your mesh in by yourself, and kind of learn how to work your pockets. So, I mean, I had a Warrior Outlaw as my first stick,
Okay.
and um, you know, looking back, like I wouldn't be able to throw with it right now. It was no whip, nothing in it, no definition in the pockets, like old school soft mesh. Like yeah, it wasn't great. So one of my birthdays, my parents got me a Gate Icon. I want to say it was a Gate Icon on a platinum alloy, and it was one of the old school Gate pockets. I don't remember if you know those that were like in the packaging, pre-formed with a
Yes.
pocket, and strung one of those up. And then from then on, I just kind of strung my own sticks.
There you go. Okay.
And then from then, I kind of worked on patterns and understanding how to string stuff, and went all the way through college, not only stringing my sticks, but teammate sticks. Did a couple teammates while I was up in college. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, so after stringing, did you just kind of want to learn how to do some dyeing after that, or how'd you get into the dyeing aspect?
In college, we wanted to customize our sticks, so we had a guy who like knew a little bit about dyeing. So one night we kind of just went over and all dyed our own heads however we wanted through the back before like vinyl cutters were readily available. You went to Michael's and got like the cutout vinyl letters and stuck them on heads, and yeah, the old school method
Yeah,
of doing stuff.
that's awesome.
And after that, I always kind of like having a custom stick.
Okay,
Um,
that's awesome.
yeah.
All right, cool. So kind of what's changed the most about your process or mindset through stringing and dyeing since you first started?
Um, really focusing on preference. A lot of stuff is preference based. Originally, when I was learning to string, you strung for position. So
Hmm.
like you'd string deep holes differently than you'd string attackmen, and it kind of took a while for me to understand like some people that are play attack might like a high pocket with zero whip and just a bag with no channel, and that's just how they like to play.
Yeah,
Um, do I agree with it all the time? No, but it's preference.
yeah.
Um, and the process in dying is kind of just really taking time, because dying is such a process as well,
Hmm.
um, that it's not an exact science because you're playing with a fluid.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be possibilities of bleeds no matter how good you are.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
but trying to be as precautious with dyes, especially,
Hmm.
and picking stuff up from people, and then trying other things myself after learning techniques.
Okay.
They're trying to keep expanding like my knowledge and also putting it out there if people ask me. Certain things I don't tend to put out. Just because it's not my process. So I don't want to put like other people's processes out there when it's not mine. Um, for instance, the on one of my posts a while back, I did like an outline of a Lakota,
Hmm.
and that's a Ceramac technique, and he came up with the whole like formula for the paste that he uses, and he happened to just give it to me, and that was great. So after that, I was kind of like, okay, if people want it, like, don't ask me, like, ask the guy who created it, and if he
Yeah.
wants to give it to you, that's up to him. But it's not mine to just give out.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome. That is really cool. Yeah, and I was talking to Sesh a little bit after the last podcast. He was telling me a lot about Ceramac and kind of how he does the dyes. It's wild,
Oh, dude,
his process.
it takes so long to do it, and that's actually the same way I kind of the splatter that I did for Manny's head
Yeah.
is the same process, but like splattering it on the head instead of like painting it.
Hmm.
So it's not only just the process, but the mess afterwards. It's just
You got to make sure you have it in a nice cardboard box just around it.
I just went outside at that point.
Hey, that'll also work.
Yeah, I went outside. I was like, I'm not gonna mess my t-shirt up.
Yeah,
So
hey, that is fair.
yeah.
All right, so everyone kind of has a stringing philosophy or a design theory when it comes to string and dyeing. What's your thought process with it when you're first starting out?
Um on a new head or new mesh, I like to kind of work with something familiar. So something I would like to use. So if like for instance, I'm stringing like the Evo 4 that or the Evo V that just came out.
Hmm.
Um, I string it for myself to see how I would string it preference wise for me. Just to kind of understand how the like mesh works in the head. And then from there, I kind of make adjustments to preference on other people. So that way I know at least how the mesh works in that head for that specific mesh, and then kind of go through a process of trying all of the current meshes on the market to understand how it works in that each head. It's a
Okay.
process, but at least you kind of understand how it stretches in certain places in comparison to, other heads and
Hmm.
other meshes. So it's just kind of a process that like I've started to run through that I kind of adapted from Lars a while back.
Yeah,
So
he's been a consistent thing when in talking to some of these people we have lined up. There's like, oh yeah, Lars showed me this and that, so excited to get him on here
yeah,
eventually,
and
which is going to happen.
yeah, he's an open book with a lot of stuff too. It's kind of one thing I really appreciate about our community is not
Hmm.
only stringers, dyers as well as most things. Like you could just talk to someone about it and they'll
Yeah.
explain their process to you. And if you don't like their process, that's okay. But adapting stuff to your liking as well and how it helps you is always beneficial.
Yeah. So kind of going through that stringing a little bit, are you more of a performance focused person or are you more aesthetic driven or is you like to have a good balance?
I'm 100% performance. Um, it might look cool, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I want a string for it to play on a field. Um, I don't, people have wall hangers and I have wall hangers myself, but those are certain pieces that I want to keep myself.
Hmm.
Um, but even those are strung well. Not that, aesthetically stringing doesn't perform well, but I put, performance over aesthetic, especially when it comes to stringing.
Yeah.
If you want it to have the aesthetic, get a dye.
Yeah. You're able to do both. So it works out perfect for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
We alluded to it earlier. It's more on preference. So kind of approaching different player positions. Could you go a little bit more into that a little bit? Or is like
Uh,
used to, like you were saying, it's probably like deep hole is probably going to be high pocket, okay-ish amount of whip, whereas attacking was going to be back in the probably a low pocket. Oh, just a good for a one-handed cradle.
yeah, I mean, it's going to be positional. It's going to be based off of the player and their preference, but also something that I've kind of delved into a little bit more uh, recently is the H.
Hmm.
Um, I've had a couple people ask me for Holman replicas, and some of them are dads, and their kids want one, and I kind of get some background, like, okay, how old are, like, what level do they play at? Are they high school? Are they like youth? Um, and that whole process is because you're building the pocket for a player,
Hmm.
really, at the end of the day. They're not going to be able to perform at the same level as someone like Marcus is with that exact pocket. They don't have the wrist strength, they don't have the muscles built up for it. It's strictly for that player. Now you can always make adjustments to it, and loosen the channel up, loosen the shooters up so that they can play with it. But then it's not really a replica. It's just
Yeah.
a strong head for that person. So it's really based off of like more than just one factor of position or preference. It kind of comes down to all of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of what I noticed. I strung up a stick for one of our club guys, and he was asking for like a replica of a guy. I'm like, you're not gonna like just seeing how he played and everything. Like we ended up having to tweak it a little bit to more of his play style, and he ended up loving it. So definitely understand that one a
Yeah,
little bit.
and like I kind of made that assumption early when I started stringing because
Hmm.
um, back when Ryan Brown was at Charlotte for the Hounds, and he used the ECD Rebel, and with Hero One,
Hmm.
I want to say it was Hero One.
Yeah.
I made a replica pocket of that, and I was like, "Oh, great! Like he shoots like really hard." Like I was
I can do the
in
same
high
thing.
school at this time, or freshman in college. I'm like, "Great! I can shoot with this. Like it'll help me," and I could right into the ground. So after that, I was kind of like, "Okay, no, that doesn't work for me. It might work
Yeah.
for him because he's made those train like he's trained for that, but not for me."
Yeah. That was one of the problems I ran into. I think I copied it was probably an old like Tucker Durkin head or like one of the old school polls back and I was like, oh, I love this. And then it was just not what I needed. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
I mean, then you have the opposite end of the spectrum too. Luckily, I want to say 2 years ago at this point, 2 or 3 years ago, um, I did a head for Lyle, and I got to string it for him based off of like how he likes to throw and shoot and how he likes the feel of his sticks. And I strung a replica myself to just kind of mess around with it on the side. Dude, that guy,
Wild.
wild. Like that thing just, it has no snap to it. It's just clean out, and I don't understand it. So like after that, I was like, I appreciated like his like skill so much more after like messing
Yeah.
around with the stick. I was like, okay, like yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes I've seen some crazy sticks that just worked for a guy. I'm like, hey, that works for you, it works for you.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna complain.
no.
So kind of moving on to this next section, let's talk some new tech and kind of these new releases. What are the current heads or meshes that you're kind of most excited about that have come out recently or are planned to come out?
Um, I mean, the recent releases have all been like the past year and a half, 2 years of releases with ECD releasing the Ions,
Hmm.
and STX releasing the Prism. The Evo kind of coming back as what it used to be with the Evo 4, like face shape, and sidewall is awesome as like a nostalgic feel for me with new technology added to it.
Hmm.
Um, Actually, I have a Prism right next to me,
Oh, there you
the,
go.
the new mint one,
Yeah.
because I need to string it up. But like even that, kind of the factory colors coming back is
Hmm.
really cool for me to see, and especially with the aesthetic of the clear heads. Um, and the slime was a really cool head, like that came out with the clear ones.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't clear, it was like opaque,
Hmm.
which was really different to see, and it looks like it just stands out on the field, which is awesome.
It does.
Um, the other cool things, like we're kind of focusing more on like other aspects of the sport rather than just the technologies in the heads
Hmm.
and the like sticks. But like you've really seen a boom in the past few years of the Q collar,
Yeah.
which is not only lacrosse but like sports across all sports. So it's kind of seeing like the importance of like concussion protocols and stuff
Hmm.
within sports. So like that technology is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the name of it off the top of my head. I think it's the jackal.
The Jackal
Uh,
Jaw.
yeah,
Yeah.
like that. It's something like so minuscule in thought as you're like putting your gear on, but something as small as like the chin strap being fitted better than historically. Like those kind of technologies are just cool to see. Like the small nuances of our sport are getting changed
Yeah.
uh, and adapted to the person rather than to you know a specific position.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's awesome.
yeah,
No, it's definitely cool seeing all the new tech because, like, granted, I started playing probably on the like tail end of a lot of like the what some would consider like the older tech, like starting in sixth grade. I wasn't seeing a bunch of this stuff, but so it's kind of cool me kind of coming into this and kind of seeing all this new technology and like what's going to end up happening. Like for me, 10 years down the line, where it'll be like, oh, what's going to replace the Jackal Jaw eventually, or things like that is what I'm excited for.
yeah, and I mean, like we saw it. I don't remember if it's going to show age, but the Easton Raptor. I don't remember
Okay,
you remember that helmet.
I've heard
But
about
that
it.
yeah, um, there was like a prototype that they decided that they were working on afterwards, and it just reminded me of like an Iron Man helmet. I don't know if you ever
Yeah.
saw those pictures on like Lacrosse Unlimited or like the lacrosse forums of Casey Powell rocking one at Lake Placid, but like the helmet literally came apart like that
That's awesome.
and would snap together. It was crazy. So like I feel like that's coming down the line at some point.
Yeah.
Just based off of how people are innovating stuff. Um,
Yeah.
Safety wise, I don't know, but
It'll look
the
cool.
innovation's always cool.
Yeah. So with this new innovation, have you gotten a chance to be involved by any like product development or kind of testing for items before they hit the market?
Not at the moment, no. I'm a gearhead and I like prototypes, so I always get like the prototypes afterwards because like if
Okay.
I like the head, I usually try to find a prototype of it. And some of the ones are cool. I wish some of the ones came out that I have, but they didn't for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But like did you watch Michael Sowers when he was at Duke?
Yes.
So he had an LU or an L3 that
Okay.
was like kind of carved out. Like
Interesting.
the scoop was carved out. So it was kind of like the what head am I thinking of right now? The like the ultra power, but like all the way through the head, and they just had like the thicker bit in the middle,
Hmm.
where you would put the logo.
Wow.
Um, so that was like really innovative, different than anything that was on the market at that point. Um, I understand why it didn't keep that way because like aesthetically it wasn't the best, and you're appealing to masses rather than the few.
Yeah.
But it was cool to see like that product.
Yeah.
Um, but no, other than that, like testing stuff prior, like I'm still small,
Yeah.
so I don't get to do that stuff yet. Um, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So if you could design your dream head or mesh for that matter, what would it look like? Or what would be some of the features you would like to have in it?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I mean, the face shape and durability are always like huge factors with me.
Hmm.
Although it doesn't, I think I've broken two heads in my lifetime, so can't really complain about durability with heads at this point.
Yeah.
um, Same with shafts. I think I've broken three or four shafts in my lifetime. Um, but I mean, like the nice like pinch on the face shape. I'm trying like the Nike Surge was really good at it.
Hmm.
Like that was kind of a good mix between like an attack and midfield head with like the pinch of it, but also it wasn't too pinched like a Surgeon, wasn't wide like a Stallion or Lakota. Um, that kind of like look of a head where it's aggressive but not too aggressive on the scoop.
Yeah.
Um, but then I can turn around and say, well, I like the wide face shape of like the Evo 4 and the Evo V now. So like for me, it's just like I, I'm I'm strange to where now I don't have a game stick when I play. I just whatever I'm feeling that day I pick up.
Okay. That's the problem I'm running into. So I probably have too many at this point, like three or four coaching sticks. So it'll just change like day to day. If like we're playing pickup or like I'm
Yeah,
goofing off because normally I play pole, but like sometimes I'll pick up a shorty, just like have fun. It's kind of just like one of my I have a prototype ultra power over there, like an Evo 4 high school, but two very different heads, but both just kind of get used with each
yeah,
other. So
yeah. I
definitely
mean,
understand that.
like I have, I think I couldn't even tell you what my coaching sticks were. I used like an L3. I used a Stallion 700. I had a Optic Force. Um, I kind of just picked whatever I wanted up and shot
Yeah.
around with. Um, over the time, you kind of are able to adjust to a stick. So it was just picking something up to throw or
Yeah.
shoot around with it.
That's what
So
me and Sesh have had that conversation before. He's like, once your hands become good enough, like to an extent, barring something absolutely atrocious, you can use almost
yeah.
anything to at least
Oh
function. Maybe not play with it, but he's like, you could demonstrate a practice using that stick.
yeah. I mean, you could probably get through passing drills with it, but like when you lock down to shoot, you're gonna have to make your adjustments as well.
Yeah.
But again, that just like you just said, it comes with repetitions. Once you know your mechanics as a shooter, it's just adjusting at that point and how you snap your wrists or like when you're releasing the ball, and it's all of that adjustment after the fact.
Yeah. All right. So kind of moving on to this next section. Lacrosse has a passionate and I would say growing gear culture. How do you
Yeah.
kind of see this community evolving with it as like places like sideline swap become more and more prevalent with like pro gear or like prototypes you can find on there?
Um, I mean, gear is just becoming so much more available.
Hmm.
Um, it's definitely one thing I've noticed a lot since getting into the culture of like the stringing and dyeing community is when you're looking at stuff on sites like Sideline Swap or eBay, you'll see gear from not only the PLL of last year, this year, but also like 2005 um, Bayhawks gloves, or
Yeah.
I think I found a pair of Florida State Harrow gloves from like 2009 on Sideline Swap.
That is awesome.
So like kind of being able to see that stuff and like readily get it
Yeah.
is cool and it's going to help grow the culture. I also think it hurts at the same time because you're going to get people who price gouge it.
Yeah.
But that comes with the territory.
Yeah. And that's awesome. Like I have these right here. I was able to find these. Obviously Atlas fan, but like something like this was on Sideline Swap. I kind of saw it on there. It was like it was reasonably priced on. So I was like, oh, this is like kind of cool that I can have access to like what the pro players are wearing now.
Yeah. And I mean, if you let me go grab something. I can even show you something in a second. Hold on. I
Okay.
gotta go get it. this is like the kind of stuff that you like because of how close knit our like sport is. It makes stuff like this become available um, because people are more willing to go out of their way to do stuff. So I got to get these hung up still. I got to put them in shadow boxes right now.
Yeah,
Uh, but
that is
like,
awesome.
I got Holman's USA jersey
Yeah,
and a like custom uh, like Manny like custom signed jersey that he sent me. So like
yeah.
because of how small we are,
Hmm.
um, being able to communicate with pros um, is like it's a closer connection.
Yeah.
I'll say.
And
Uh,
that's always been the cool thing that I've noticed. Like even when I was going to like the MLL games, like even the PLL games now, it's like we're still such a small community that like you'll see these players like Trevor. He's signing every kid's autograph because it's not like he's signing for 70,000 people coming into
yeah,
like a stadium, which would be cool one day, but it's nice to kind of be able to take advantage of that small community right now.
yeah, and like one of the guys that I always kind of pops out to me because I've been to a few PLL events at this point. Um, you'll see someone like Tom Schreiber,
Hmm.
and he'll go the entire way around the stadium and have to be forced out of signing stuff because he's there to like
Yeah.
he understands like the kids are there to see him and like even though he's tired and just played a whole game, like he wants to like let them know he appreciates the fans as well. So
Yeah.
like that's so cool to see because there's not many sports, obviously, especially professional sports that do that.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
So I guess
yeah,
kind of going into that, it leads us into our next question. How do you think social media has changed the way stringers and brands are like able to connect, or even stringers and players are able to connect?
I mean it's at your fingertips at this point.
Yeah.
Um, the cool thing is like especially in the stringing and dyeing community, like not many people won't talk to you about stuff. Like I think we're pretty all open about like why we do stuff a certain way and talk about it and let people know our processes and how we do stuff, but also like you get to form like friendships through it. Like
Yeah.
there are countless guys. Like I went and hung out with um I think it's Southern Strings or Southern Carolina Strings. Can't
Southern
remember the
strings. Yeah.
yeah. So him and I went to the PLL event, like games in Charlotte 2 years in a row and just hung out.
Yeah.
And then stuff like uh, the String Shark, Hershey, Dandy, and I were at the World Games in San Diego.
That's awesome.
So like in those small things, like you form these like friendships and relationships to where like you can just text guys during the day
Yeah.
and talk with them. Um, one of the guys that I kind of really grew a friendship with was like Seven Hills.
Hmm.
Back when I was still learning certain dye processes and everything like that. Like we would sit up till 2, 3 in the morning, sometimes 4 in the morning, just talking while we're dyeing heads.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, so it's like that kind of stuff that goes a long way, and shows like really how open the community is.
Hmm.
And like even like you said earlier, someone like Lars is like always open to talk about stuff,
Yeah.
always. Um, because it's better to have the knowledge out there than like keep it to yourself. Even I mean, I've heard so many stories about it at this point. Sure, you have too, but someone like Alfie, who
Yeah.
was a traditional stick maker, like when you showed him a traditional that you strung, he would be like, "Okay, why did you do it this way? I like it this big, but explain why."
Yeah.
Because he wanted to get your ideas as well and understand your processes, and then would talk to you about the process and why he does the stuff a certain way.
Yeah.
So like even like that kind of stuff is so cool. And it shows how like tight knit the community is.
Hmm.
Um, but it also like social media gave people a chance to grow. I mean, you have the story of like EC Greg, but you also
Hmm.
have um, iconic Lax, which was Clutch Fanatic back in the
Yeah.
day, where he was a stringer and now he, owns his own company where he does shafts and mesh now. So it's like people have grown like a business,
Hmm.
not just in stringing, but lacrosse related out of social media and stringing. So it's
Yeah.
cool to like see that process happen.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the community we're talking about is like like I've had this podcast today. I said this in the first episode. I've had this podcast idea before I launched it for 4 or 5 weeks, kind of just sitting on it, and then like immediately launched it. I had like 30 stringers being like, "Hey man, I'd love to come on." Like you were one of the first ones. Like, yeah, like I'm in. So it's kind of just cool seeing that those people come together for this.
Yeah, and I mean, a few years back, I mean, he's not as active on social media anymore. Keen Dog and I went back and forth about doing a podcast, not just about lacrosse, but like sports in general.
Yeah.
Um, just it was COVID. It was like something we were like spitballing back and forth, and kudos to you for like doing it because
I took the
I
leap,
mean,
so
yeah, there's like there's so many people. I can't remember. There's a one of the big podcasts always talks about like yeah, people talk about doing it, and but it doesn't work till you actually just do it.
yeah,
So like kudos to you for like doing it
I
because like
appreciate that.
the time you got to take out of your day and plan and schedule, like it's a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely been a learning process. And one thing I was big in, I'm not big about putting myself in front of a camera. So that was also the it's kind of just putting myself out there for this, which it's been awesome just seeing all the people rallying around it. So
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome.
yeah. So we kind of talked a little bit before, like we're close to wrapping up, but like would there be any shout outs to just some stringers or developers you've gotten to admire over the years?
Dude, there's so many. It like I'm sure every person you talk to, it's just gonna there's so many.
Yeah.
Because like I said, you pick up little bits of information from everyone.
Hmm.
I've talked with Gopher about rocket pocket replicas and traditionals and why like how he treats leathers. Like there's so many people that like I could shout out that have helped me with my process and gotten me to the point where I
Yeah.
am. I mean, outside of like the stringers and dyers, I mean, the huge shout out would be to like, the pros that I've gotten to work with over the years because
Yeah.
they've kind of trusted my work
Hmm.
and continued to trust it. And that's always awesome to see. It kind of um, makes me think I'm doing something well when it's a consistent thing coming, like they consistently come back. Like it makes you
Yeah.
think you've done your job right.
Hmm.
And I mean, I post about it every year, but I mean, it's always I'm gonna give Marcus his props, but like it's cool to see. I think it's like 3 out of the 4 years or 4 years in a row he's won the accuracy contest, the All
Yeah. It's
Star
like
team.
just like I struck that.
Yeah, dude. Every single time I'm like, I did that stick. Let's go. And it's just like it's not like to pat myself on the back for it, but it's like
Yeah, it's a
just
cool thing.
yeah, it's cool to see it. So I appreciate those guys for trusting me. I mean, there's groups of guys that I've bonded with and really trust and talk with all the time. Like I said, Seven Hills. Um, I mean, even guys just not even talking about string stuff, but just talking back and forth, like Uzumaki strings. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty prevalent on like jumping into like lives and like chatting with people because like
Hmm.
I love the communication that like social media brings us.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just need to get better about posting, but I'm on my page. I just forget to take pictures and post them.
That's the way Sesh was. So with like when he was my coach in Atlanta, he was posting like daily, and now he like jokes that he's like stringing in the shadows. Now where
Yeah,
he's like I'm active. He's like I see everything. He's just like I just don't post as much anymore.
yeah, it's just like a lot of it's rush stuff. Like I just strung two heads for Marcus that went out. pre-Memorial Day weekend
Hmm.
for training camp that I just didn't take pictures of because like I got them, dyed one, strung both of them, sent them out the next day.
Yeah.
And it's just that kind of stuff where I'm like, oh, I should have taken a picture. Where I think of it after the fact, I'm like, oh, I should probably just taken a picture of that. Or I, you know, after work, like I'm like, I don't feel like stringing right now, and I keep putting stuff off. So like the magnet I put off for like 4 days of just stringing it, and then I waited like another week or two to post it because I was just like, I didn't take pictures, I forgot, and then I was like, I can't post it like a week later.
Yeah, you gotta wait a couple. If you like, I kind of
Yeah,
late.
I gotta wait a little bit now.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So,
There's so many people, and like you too. Like you're bringing like a different platform of like you know our culture and the stringing community, um, in a different format than just like posting pictures. You're like communicating and talking with people in front of a camera. So like
yeah.
it's a conversation, but everyone can see the conversation,
Hmm.
understands like perspectives and people's personalities and who people are.
Yeah. And that was kind of the goal here was to kind of shine a light because I'd like to say like without the stringing community, like lacrosse community might like fail to function for a little bit. So it's cool to see like someone has to string your sticks. So it's just nice being able to talk to all these people who kind of work like behind the scenes in a sense of the sport.
Yeah. And like Lars, I think is going to be a really cool perspective for you because he's done it like really behind the scenes at a pro level, like
Hmm.
being at training camp for the PLL a few years back, like stringing for guys there and doing equipment stuff at Harvard and Duke. And I think he was at Duke in Virginia. And the Cannons as well when they were in the
Yeah.
ML. Like that, he's gonna have so much perspective when it comes to like the behind the scenes of stringing
Hmm.
and like how like pros like to work and all of that. Like he's got stories because I've
I'm
heard some
excited.
another guy I've sat and had conversations with and just talked for hours just
Yeah,
about nothing,
that's
which is
awesome.
always great.
Yeah. So what would be some advice you have for kind of just younger players who are looking at getting into stringing or dying?
Do it because you love it.
Okay.
Um, it you know there's very few people that make it a full time job.
Hmm.
Very few. So do it because you enjoy it. It's a passion to you. If it's stringing or dying or just lacrosse in general, just do it because you love it. Um, it's such an amazing sport to where we do get to customize our own gear
Yeah.
and make stuff personalized to you. And it's not something that the next guy can just go buy off the shelf and it's the same thing.
Hmm.
Um, so like having that like passion and love for the sport and like the byproduct of the sport, which is the stringing and dyeing stuff, to where it really shows one's personality. So like that's what I would encourage people to do it for is like don't do it for money, do it for just because you like it.
Yeah.
And don't get burnt out.
That was
Because
Sesh's piece of advice too. I think that's going to be a common thread. He's like,
yeah,
just don't. He's like, you're going to be young. He's like, you're going to love it. You're going to be like, yeah, I can string that. He's like, eventually it'll get to the point where you've strung like two heads a day for a couple months, and you'll just be like, I really just don't know if I want to do this for a while.
I think I'm gonna take a little break in a I'm gonna take like a week off of stringing soon because I have
After this big project.
I've been doing like 3 4 heads a night for the past week and a half now.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and like we've talked about off camera, it's like custom strung flex mesh, so like my hands just hurt, just hurt at this point. But I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's an experience. Like that's you live and you learn from experiences. So like timeline wise, like that kind of stuff. I didn't get to choose my timeline, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's Again, you do it because you love it. Like I enjoy being able to sit and put something on TV like a Shorzy or a
Great show.
yeah, amazing show or Letterkenny and just like sit and string.
Yeah.
And like you get to a point where you like this where you don't think about it because you're just doing it over and over and over again. So you just look at it, string, and you're just watching your show and you're stringing.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, definitely just like that would be my advice to people is like don't do it for money, do it because you're interested in it and want to learn more about the sport and how things function.
Yeah.
Uh, my other advice is like never feel bad to reach out to people.
Hmm.
Um, like I said, I've reached out and learned so much stuff from so many different people. So like that's always a huge plus in these like this community is I want to say like 99% of people are just going to respond and talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, there's going to be some things that we can't share just because it's not ours. And that's just like it's my personality really with that. But I mean, I've talked with him like Sir Mac, like I was saying earlier. I've talked with Sir Mac about it, and he was fine with me giving it out. I just it's not mine,
Yeah.
and I would feel bad just like yeah, this is how you do it. It's not my process. Like
Hmm.
they should learn it from the guy who made the process, so that way he can tell them the right things. Because if I tell them the wrong things, then I'm going to feel and
Yeah.
I'm also going to tell them, you know, especially young kids. If are we talking like younger kids that are getting into this?
I guess we can go. Yeah, younger players getting into stringing will be a good way to wrap up this part.
Okay. Uh, if you're dying in your parents' kitchen, let them know it could stain their
Oh
cabinet
no.
ahead of time.
Oh no.
um, Especially the red dyes. Found that out. But yeah, like you know, like it's fun. I love our community and like everyone in it really.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like have fun with it.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
like that's my advice to you too with the podcast. Like have fun with it.
Yeah, and that's been the goal. Is like it's like I'm kind of just doing it, just kind of feel to talk to these people and kind of maybe hopefully introduce some like more people into the side of the stringing world. Just because I feel like it's such a small community right now. Like it's nice, but nice if like more people kind of knew about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and getting those like guys who are just getting into the space and like getting into their heads on like why and how, you know, they kind of got into it is
Hmm.
awesome.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the answers, especially with guys like me, is going to be, well, I was bored during COVID and just decided to make a social media. Like I've been straining and dying for years. It's just I decided to make a social media for it at this point.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
All right. Well, that's awesome. So we like to finish this off with a rapid fire round. So we just you're gonna say the first thing that comes to your mind. We've got like four on here, I think.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get into it. What is your favorite mesh?
Oof. Personal use or to string for other people?
Personal and then other people.
Personally, I love traditional.
Okay.
There's just it. There's no like. It just feels awesome to play with a traditional stick. Um, for other people, Hero 2. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just such a nice balance of like softness and thickness to the net. Like it just performed so well.
Yeah. That was Sesh's answer as well. So it's gonna be a common thread. What's the most underrated head of all time?
Nike Vapor Elite.
Okay. Tape
Like
or oh, go ahead.
you don't see them on the field, but it's such a nice like face shape to like an offensive head, and it's just never out there. Like it's such
Yeah.
a cool head.
Yeah. Tape or no tape on a stick?
I'm a big tape guy.
Okay.
I tape my stick 3/4 of the way up.
Okay. And then last one, what's your favorite head to string of all time?
Oh boy. Hmm. That's a tough one. Like
Or
I
we can
have
make it
a
we can make it easier and go top three.
top three would probably be easier. Um, it's going to show a preference, but like I was at an STX school at college, so like the Lakota 2 and the Stallion 700 were two of my favorite heads
Hmm.
ever. And the Stallion wasn't as fun to string, but like when once you knew how to string it, it was a great head.
Yeah,
I want to say the Evo 4 as well.
always a solid choice.
Oh, yeah, it was just a great head.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's arguably perfect, some would say.
yeah, I mean that's why like I I was so excited to see the Evo V like having the
The wide
same
face
aesthetic,
shape, yes.
yeah, the wide face shape, the flare on the side struts. Like I was just so happy. It made me a little giddy because I was like, it's back.
It's happening.
Yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
those were fun
Well,
heads.
SoFlo, thank you so much for kind of coming on here. This was definitely an awesome conversation and experience. Where can these listeners and viewers find your work, follow you, reach out?
Uh, all my information's on my Instagram, which is SoFlo Dyes.
Hmm.
Um, all of my links are on there. If you want to reach me by email, my email's on there, and my affiliate link for Lacrosse Monkeys on there as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining Stick Theory again. To everyone listening, watching, kind of hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on the new YouTube channel. And thank you all for the support you're able to give.
Cool. Thanks for having me.